I first came to Japan in 2013, and in my opinion, Japan's only gotten better. So today I wanted to share how I think Japan has improved over the past 10 years since I first came here. What's changed? A lot has actually changed. Not necessarily everything's for the better, but today we're gonna be positive. We're gonna be good, positive girls. Only good vibes. I talk about negatives in other videos. So 10 years, let's talk about 10 different ways Japan has improved. Number one is, for me, less smoking in public. So compared to 2013, the smoking scene here is totally different. It's a lot less accepted to do it like in public. For example, you are not allowed to smoke on the street. You have to smoke in like specific smoking areas. In places like Tokyo, there's actually a fair amount of them, so don't worry. So that means you're not allowed to just smoke on your balcony. You can't smoke like if you're sitting at a terrace on a cafe. Usually you can't. But really important is up until 2020, you could actually smoke inside. So I'm American, so coming from America, this was very strange to me when I first came here. Europeans will differ, but so it was really common for restaurants to allow smoking either in the whole establishment or like they'd have like a half the room, like it's like separated, so like this half would be like smoking and this wouldn't be smoking, and there'd be like a little air vent thing usually, but honestly you could still smell the smoke. Not anymore. In 2020 they passed a law which kind of banned that, so indoor smoking is now banned at most restaurants. There are exceptions. If you go into like smaller bars, smaller cafes, they may be all smoking. But now in most places, if they do have a smoking area, it's gonna be like a room, like with a proper door that's gonna be separated. And I think this is so much better. Two, probably the most important big change is that cashless options are way more common here now. 2013, it was like nothing. It was like nothing, just credit cards. Now, thanks to COVID, honestly, did do one good thing. Cashless payments are way more common. This means like Apple Pay, it means QR payments, which are pretty popular here now. That being said, you still need cash. Definitely bring cash on your trip or withdraw it as soon as you land. There are still some stores in the city that don't take anything except for cash, but especially in the countryside, when you go out there, there's gonna be a lot of cash only places still. But it's a lot better, okay? It's a lot better. Like now I only have to withdraw cash like once or twice a month. Three, this is probably gonna impact everyone. It is way more English friendly now. I cannot emphasize enough how different it is compared to 10 years ago. If you go back 20 years ago, it's like a totally different world. I wasn't here, but so everything I'd say in Japan is a lot more English friendly. A large part of this is due to the ill-fated Tokyo 2020 Olympics. The build up for that, there was a lot of improvement in infrastructure to make things more accessible to foreign tourists. So now most road signs, most train signs are gonna also have English on them. And in trains and cities and things like that, you're also gonna hear announcements in like English, Japanese, Korean, Mandarin, and there's a lot more English menus available at restaurants. Not everywhere has an English menu, absolutely not, but there's way, way more than before. And honestly, even if you don't have an English menu, a lot of them will have pictures, so you can kind of figure it out. Picture menus are super, super popular here. But in general, I say people just speak more English now. Like, it's not perfect. It's not perfect at all, but you really shouldn't be going to a foreign country expecting everyone to speak fluent English, right? Anyway, so. And I think English fluency kind of becomes more and more common every year I'm here. It's like there's just more and more people who can speak English. Like, okay, I've been to China and I've been to Korea, because Japan's often like compared to these two other countries. Japan is definitely the most English and foreigner friendly in general, like by a long shot to me. But again, it's not like everything is in English everywhere you go. And that's why I still think you really, really need a smartphone that has internet access during your trip. And that is why I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Saily. You need a cell phone that has access to the internet. When you're in Japan, you need to access Google Maps, you need to access translation. It's honestly a necessity nowadays. So if you don't know, Saily is a new eSIM service app brought to you by Nord Security. And eSIMs like Saily let you stay connected without having to rely on spotty Wi-Fi networks. And in Japan, there's generally very good cell coverage. So getting a travel eSIM like Saily will let you stay connected virtually everywhere because it connects you right to a local cell network. So this means you can quickly, pull out your phone, access translation apps. It's so important so that you can have a much more stress-free travel experience. So Saily is actually really easy to use. All you have to do is download the app, which you can find through the QR code here. So then you're just gonna open up the app, choose what country you're gonna be traveling to, and then choose the data plan you want, so how much data you wanna use. So all you have to do after that is just install the eSIM on your phone and activate it right before you travel while you're still in your home country. So then once you land, all you have to do is turn on your phone and you will just automatically connect to a local network. It is so easy, it is so simple, it cannot get better than this. I know it sounds scary at first, but trust me, once you start using an eSIM, you cannot go back because it's that easy. So when you do go to buy your eSIM through Saley, make sure you use my code ALLISON at checkout to get an exclusive deal of 15% off your first purchase. Or you can go to download the app through my link at saley.com/AllisonInTokyo. So thank you, Saley, for sponsoring today's video. And next, Japan has now finally started to recognize the importance of work-life balance. This is certainly not applicable to every company. There's still very much, they call them black companies here. I didn't make the name for the term, okay? So a black company is like a company where there's a lot of overtime, where you kind of are just, it's a bad situation. It's very toxic. These still exist, but it's getting better. At least on the surface, companies are starting to recognize that, you know, maybe employees do deserve to have a life outside of work. Maybe they shouldn't be home on the last train, things like that. Another thing that COVID did for the better is that, you know, remote work, or telework is what we call it here, is very common now. Beforehand, no. I like almost never heard of that many hybrid jobs at all, let alone remote. But now, even though COVID is, you know, over here, there's still lots of hybrid jobs. People do not want to go back to working only in office, really. And I think this is linked to my previous point. You know, it's a promotion of just better work-life balance, you know, giving employees a bit more power. And I think it's a really good trend. I hope it does not go away. Please, let's keep the hybrid remote working. My company also does hybrid. Very good. By the way, if you're new here, I do work in Japan at a Japanese office, so that's where this is all coming from. Next, there's much better accessibility for the disabled and the elderly, etc. This is kind of linked to my point about the Olympics. Accessibility in Tokyo, still not perfect by far. There's so many stairs here. Once you come, that's gonna leave an impression in you, the amount of stairs. But more than ever before, there's a lot more elevators, there's a lot more ramps, especially in stations. You know, when I came here like 10 years ago, a lot of stations did not have elevators just because they were old. You know, they were built like 60 plus years ago. But now in Tokyo, I'd say most stations will have an elevator at least. Go out in the countryside, it's a bit more spotty. I'm gonna be real, but it just gets better. You're also gonna probably notice how there is a lot of tactile pavement in Tokyo. I never thought about this until I moved here, but I like never really saw this back in America. I don't know. It's like tactile pavement. It's just everywhere on the sidewalks here. It's very normal. It's for like people who are visually impaired so that they can feel the street, the sidewalk. It's great. I just never thought about it existing until I moved here. Next, there's also a lot more plant-based food available now compared to 10 years ago. Totally different scene. Vegetarian, vegan, etc. There's so many more places that offer it now. There are a lot of standalone, like vegan restaurants, but also just at like cafes you go to, there's a much higher chance that they're gonna have like a little vegan mark or something next to even just one option. Trust me, having just even one vegan or vegetarian option is like a big improvement. If you do have dietary restrictions, you still need to do your research in advance. I definitely would, especially if you're vegan. But it's way easier to travel here compared to how it was 10 years ago. Next is the importance on childcare. I know these points are kind of going back and forth between like things that are good for tourists and life here, but I feel like that's a good balance you should just be aware of. Since 2019, they have introduced free preschool education for children between 3 to 5. From 6, schooling is just, you know, it's compulsory. I think there are requirements you have to meet. I don't really know them because I don't have children. Look at my room, it's only this big. Of course I don't. So this is good. However, there's still problems. I know we're staying good vibes this video, but like for example, like for preschools, depending on the area, especially in Tokyo, it's like a huge competition to get your kid into a good preschool here. Like you have to register them while you're still pregnant level of competition. It's getting better. Politicians, everyone is recognizing the problem. We'll see. And other than that, there's just a lot of subsidies and like services available if you have kids. This kind of depends on your city specifically because it really depends. But for example, in all of Japan, healthcare is free for children up to 15. And I also read that they're planning on running like free daycare for kids who are under 3 from 2026. See if that happens. That'd be pretty cool. And in general, there's more flexible parental leave policies. I think 10 years ago, like a father taking paternity leave was kind of unheard of. Yeah, it's not great now. I don't know what the average number is. I'll put it here if I can find it. Not great, but it's better, so. But also I think companies are becoming more open to having more flexible schedules, like for mothers, for fathers, like more remote work options, etc. So that's great. It's a step in the right direction. Next, there are a lot more foreign tourists and residents. I know we always mention this in a bad light. I know, but it's good actually in a lot of ways. Because the tourism numbers, for one, are something Japan is pushing for. And it means more jobs in hospitality. It means more money to maybe rural, more local economies that wouldn't have got that influx of money otherwise. It really just brings people out into maybe places that were kind of on the decline. And just having a more diverse city, it's really good, I think, for the city. Things here are a lot more inspired by global trends now than they were before. It's good, because look, guys, 10 years ago, I don't know the statistic, I'll put it here, but the percentage of foreign residents, for example, it's not like it was high. And it's not like it's high now either, like compared to the whole country, it's fine. Also, if you're thinking of moving here like I did, there's much better support for foreign residents. Especially in Tokyo, there's more support structures in place. I don't know, it kind of feels like Japan is just more accepting of the reality now that there are, in fact, immigrants here and that they need immigrants. There's more multilingual services at like City Hall, large hospitals, etc. It's just like a more welcoming environment. Things are in English, things are in Chinese. It's good. Not great, but again, we're getting there. We're getting there. If I make this again in 10 years, it'll be awesome. I don't know. And lastly, this also basically affects only residents, but the digitization of government services, healthcare, etc. Japan was and is a super paperwork heavy bureaucratic society. So up until very recently, maybe up until COVID, you kind of had to fill out everything by hand. You had to like physically take papers to offices and hand them in. And you'd also have to use this special thing called an inkan to literally, look, it's a stamp. It has my name on it. It says Allison. Stamp things with this thing. Still need it for things like opening a bank account and things like that. But compared to before, I do not pull this thing out nearly as much because things are becoming more able to be done online. Now you can fill out your taxes online. They even recently started a thing for foreigners for when you like renew your visa. You can do it online now, supposedly. I haven't tried and I've heard it's very buggy, but it exists. It's getting there. And I can actually usually make like a doctor's appointment online now, depending on where you're going. Progress. So yeah, that's 10 ways Japan has changed over the past 10 years that I've noticed. Let me know down below in the comments what are some other ones. This is probably not all of them, but I really tried my best to use my noggin to think. Let me know what you think about these changes otherwise. I don't know. What do you think? I think Japan is getting better. It's getting more modern. We're moving forward. So thank you so much for watching. Please like the video, leave a comment down below. Let me know. Thank you again to Sally for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you guys back here again soon. Bye!